welcome everyone to this is our second attempt at the graduate workshop. We'll probably go for just short of an hour today. We'll look to cover off what's going through the presentation, but I'll leave some time at the end for any questions. And if there's any thoughts throughout the hour that you're not sure about, or you want to raise something, just shoot a question in the chat. Leah, our marketing manager, is manning the questions, so please let's make this as interactive as possible. We did last time start. Would love to hear actually, just if you can put in the chat box what area that you are, I guess, looking to grow into, or you know, what's your area of specialty, and hopefully that could then help us tailor the hour accordingly. Obviously, we won't be able to cover everything, but if you can just put in there what your chosen career is hoping to be.
We've got graphic design, quite a few graphic designers here. That's very cool.
UI, yep. Fashion design, service, product design.
So lots of designers on this one.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I suppose I'll kick off sort of introducing myself and Creative Natives for those who don't know myself or who we are. We are a recruitment agency that specializes in the creative marketing, digital design space. We operate across Melbourne, Sydney, the Gold Coast, and have in the last 6 months opened up in London. I guess the business started just short of 4 years ago, from me working off my kitchen desk, to now a team of I think 13, 14 across multiple offices. And I guess as a sort of why I'm doing this and why I'm you know, putting this together, I speak to a lot of candidates at various levels, particularly grads, and to be honest, I can completely see how hard it is to actually break into the field of work. The whole chicken and egg situation, you know, you don't have experience. How do you get hired? How do you get noticed? You know, are you just in this vicious cycle of applying for jobs and not getting any success? And I thought, rather than, you know, try and speak to everyone individually, we'll do these once a month, and it will just give up people an opportunity to you know, pick my brain on what I think you know, helps people get their first job and whatnot. And what we'll go over in the next what we'll go over in the next hour is building a personal brand. If you don't have any form of idea about that, we'll go over that in a bit of detail. How to land an internship. We'll also cover tips on what to put in the cover letter, particularly with the creatives on. We'll talk around how best to present your work, and hopefully we'll come up with some practical ways to kickstart your career, and then we'll finish off with some Q&A at the end. If that sounds all right. Cool. Sarah's will we get a recording to take extra notes after? Absolutely, yeah. This will be recorded and sent out. So as much as you can, you know, just sort of take it all in, you know, and like I said, feel free to interject with any questions, and we can have a discussion if we can. Okay, cool. So going back to the origins of Creative Natives and what's kind of led to our success, and where we have focused as a business is very much around content creation and building personal brands, and that has taken our business to, you know, we've experienced a huge level of success as a result of that. And I don't think that building a personal brand is something that is just for recruiters, okay? And I think that what I'm trying to encourage people at all different levels is to at least begin the process of a personal brand. Okay, so during this phase, I want to kind of just go into what actually a personal brand is, how you build on that, and how and what basically the effects of having a personal brand are going to be on your career and inevitably your ability to get hired and to land a job. Okay, so like I said, we started as myself around a kitchen table. We now are averaging over 1 million views on LinkedIn each month. And that's due to the content that we put out there, which obviously has raised our presence. Okay, so if I said to you the words personal branding, does anyone have any, I guess, idea around personal branding and what that looks like in terms of you know, in your world and about it? Has anyone begun the process, or you know, would like to know how to do it?
Is it about like the way you talk to people on LinkedIn and the things you post, as well as your portfolio and all that sort of stuff? So it's not necessarily always wearing a blue t-shirt, but it's
absolutely right. So what I would sort of to get you to think about is if we look at LinkedIn as a huge networking event, okay, where all potential hirers are in the room. You've got companies of choice. You've got you know, you're in a constant networking event, okay. And I would also be thinking, applying the behavior you would at an event as to your behavior online, okay. And what I mean by that was, if you went into a room and there were a load of hiring managers, you wouldn't just go up to them straight away and say, can I have a job? Okay. And that's essentially what happens with a lot of people in their application process, is you are asking for something straight away without getting to those people who and what you are about as an individual and why you think, and really kind of elevating your presence. Okay. So your personal brand is really essentially what you want to be known for in your space. Okay. And this, I think a lot of people mistake personal brand with having to be a thought leader and having to reinvent the wheel each time. But actually, it's been proven that the content that gets the most engagement and gets the most reactions is when you actually give your audience a bit of intel into who you are as a person. Okay. So that doesn't mean you have to go about your content journey or your process through just posting selfies and, you know, being all about you. But there is a fine line between letting your audience know what you're passionate about and what you think about certain areas. Okay. Because if you are a company, you know, looking at potential grads or those starting out in their career when they haven't got necessarily a lot of experience to judge against, one of the first things they're going to be looking at is your LinkedIn profile, okay? And your LinkedIn profile can be a hugely powerful tool around showing what your values are, what your opinions are, and lots of different areas, which essentially it's like an interactive resume, okay? And as a recruiter, if I'm looking at somebody's page and I can see that they've got a clear opinion on design, or they've got a clear you know, knowledge or understanding of certain areas of the industry, even though you haven't got that commercial experience, to me that is showing a high level of initiative and emotional intelligence and confidence that you're able to actually articulate your views onto a social platform. Okay, so we'll go through in a little bit more detail about the personal branding, okay? But one of the things that I would advise before we go about the journey of posting content is really making sure that your LinkedIn page is ready and is in its best format. Okay, and there's some really, I guess, simple ways of making your page stand out. So particularly those within the visual and the creative space, why don't you customize your LinkedIn page? So with the LinkedIn page, you can tailor the banner to reflect your personal brand. Again, the aesthetics of that banner, if they look and feel good, that's obviously going to make your page stand out as a creative. And see your LinkedIn homepage as very much essentially your personal website. Okay, so once you've got your banner set up, make sure you go through each section of your profile and make sure that you can really articulate what your skills are and what you can actually do for a client. Okay, again, it's got to be information that's easy to digest and easy to look at your page, and then within 10 seconds you can go, okay, they are this type of skill set and this is what they can focus on. Okay, so also there's an area on LinkedIn which has which is a features section, which allows you then to, if you've got a portfolio of work, put that portfolio onto your page and have that in the featured section. Okay, if you've done a podcast or if you've done anything that's outside of the regular copy, put that in your featured section. Okay, see that as a bit of a show reel for you to highlight your extra levels of skill and what you've done. Okay, sounds really obvious, but is your profile picture reflected of the personal brand that you want a potential hirer to see? There's a chain of thought about if you're graduating, having a picture of your graduation ceremony, and look, I get that, but I don't think that's necessarily the most the best way to promote yourself as a young professional looking to go into the workplace. Okay, so I would make sure that your photo headshot is professional, but also suited to the environment that you're looking to get into. Okay, so smart casual versus suit if you're looking for a creative role. Okay, make sure you smile. Make sure that first impression is giving yourself the best opportunity to get noticed. We are very, very judgmental creatures, humans, and we will make a very quick decision based on someone's photo. So just give yourself the best opportunity to make sure it's up to date, it's relevant, and it reflects who you want to be seen as. Okay. Cool. Okay, so I think the point of what I want to sort of bring up now is that when you are in this phase of your career where you have limited experience, you can either go down one path. You can go down a path of a job seeker, and you can continually apply for roles through the normal process, or you can actually focus your efforts in terms of that building a brand. And why I think there's an important differentiator, because if you are just applying for roles, putting your CV in and pressing send, that's in itself taking up time, okay? And you are essentially going into a huge pile of hay, and you are that needle in that haystack, and it's very, very difficult to give yourself that opportunity, because the person reading it will be looking for certain experience, and if you haven't got that experience, it is very difficult for them to put you in contention for the role. Okay, so that process, while it may feel like you're moving in the right direction, it can actually be quite counterintuitive, because it can just lead to an endless cycle of just not getting through or not hearing back. Okay, so that is where you can stop, and instead of applying for all different roles, I'd encourage you to really sit down and do some research in terms of, okay, who are the companies that I would love to work for? Okay, this involves doing some research. So which companies align with your values? Which companies do you think are doing great work? And really curate a list of companies that you're interested in. Okay, the next phase, the next part of that process is then thinking about, okay, so who within those companies would be the hiring manager that I would like to get across? Okay, so through that discovery phase, you'll type in that company, you'll look at who perhaps the creative director is. Okay, so here you are, you're compiling a list of potential people that you would like to be on their radar. Okay, and what you can then do with that list is on LinkedIn, you have an option to, you can either send them a request, and that may or may have success, or if you don't feel confident enough for them to accept your request, you could start following them. Okay, once you start following them, that will allow you to then see their content appear on your feed and also allow you to engage in their content. Okay, so if, for example, someone from a company that you really want to work with has posted something on their wall, why not actually converse with their content? Leave a comment on it. Okay, regardless of seniority, putting content out there leaves you feeling vulnerable. So if you're the first person to engage with their content, that is a very quick and easy way for you to get on their radar, okay? And that doesn't involve you having to come up with original content yourself. So you're essentially piggybacking on the back of other people's content and starting conversations, okay? And guess what? If they have a profile that gets lots of views, when they click on, when the rest of their community on their content, they're then seeing you right at the top of their comments, and again, you're leveraging off their personal brand and their network. Okay, so I would say that's a really easy, quick way of building connections without having to actually come up with original content yourself, if that makes sense. Okay. Okay. So just 1 second. Kind of lost it. Yep, hang on 1 second. So we've done the banner. Cool. Okay. So again, so going back to those connections each week, LinkedIn will allow you to add 100 connections a week. Okay. So if you went through the process of connecting in with 100 individuals from your network that you think would be potential hiring managers, think of the compounding effect of having 100 relevant hiring managers in your network each week. Okay, I can tell you now that would equal 5,000 new contacts over the course. Okay, so right away, what we've done is we haven't massively increased the number of hours that you're looking and trying to find work. But what you're actually doing is you're putting yourself in the room with the right type of people, and you're now at a networking event which is relevant to you. Okay, so what we've done here, so we've got the profile all set up. We've thought about the who we want to be in our network. Okay, and now we can start actually thinking about the content that you want your network to start seeing about you. Okay, so the main pillars, I would say, when you're creating content are educational. Okay, so what I would say in that educational piece is you want the readers to learn something from your content. Okay, and I think that the imposter syndrome in all of us thinks that there's actually nothing that we all have that is of interest to our audience. Okay, and believe it or not, most people actually think that when it comes to content. A lot of people let themselves think that self-doubt gets into it. But if you think about it, if you've just done a course on design or you're learning something, what are you learning each week? Like take that knowledge of what you've taken from each week of thing, and then apply that into short, snappy content, okay? And again, it's educating your market around things that you might know, but guess what? The hiring manager, 20 years creative, might not know about a latest design trend. And guess what? If they saw you posting about something which was very relevant to 2023 design, they might actually look at you and go, oh, they know their stuff. This is really interesting. Okay, so educational is one pillar that I would strongly recommend. Again, builds that credibility. Relatable. Relatable is essentially human type content. Okay, content that other humans can relate to. Okay, I would say with this pillar, avoid being negative. Okay, negativity through social content is never really going to improve your brand. Okay, so think about that when you are putting out content. Okay, yes, I can understand the frustrations, but those frustrations projected aren't going to position you in a positive light to potential hires. Okay, so relatable, but have a positive spin on it. Okay, inspiring. Okay, celebrate the small wins. Okay, because everyone likes a success story, whether it be completing a course, whether it be something that you've achieved, whether it be personal, anything like that. Let's start documenting it. Okay, because again, this is your story that you're projecting to people. It doesn't have to, it might seem insignificant to you, but it's a really good way of building momentum, is actually documenting things that you've learned. Okay, if you watched if you took a lesson through Canva or something that you've learned, or there's a course out there, share it on social. Okay, you're being very useful by doing that. Okay, again, it's piggybacking off other brands. So, if you've done a course, tag that company in the course, tag the person who did that, and all of a sudden, again, it's getting that wheels moving on it. Okay, so it's the first bit is always the hardest, and something about the LinkedIn algorithm which is really worth noting, that you need to be consistent with your posting, otherwise the results just will not happen. Okay, so the way the algorithm works is if someone has engaged with your content or has interacted with your content, you will then appear on their feed for the next 2 weeks. Okay, so thinking about the way it works is you tag a high profile person that etc. They'll probably like it. Then all of a sudden, because they've liked it, you then appear on their feed, their wall of content. And again, you're just leveraging that community and building out your connections. Okay, and don't forget to have fun with it. Okay, entertaining content. It doesn't have to all be serious. And this, I guess, with a personal brand, I say that a personal brand should be reflective of you as a person. So don't be serious all the time, but also don't be joke. It's just finding that balance of portraying your personality and bringing that across on socials. Okay. And yeah, look, it might feel a bit cringe at first. Okay, but like I say, I genuinely think the way in which the job search happens these days is so much through social that, yes, it might be cringing and it may feel out of your comfort zone to start, but I would also challenge applying for 30 roles and not hearing back is probably also not a nice feeling as well. Okay, so it's just shifting the mindset. You can go through the motions of doing that, or you can stop and implement something which will compound over time, and you will be amazed at the amount of opportunities that will be presented through it. Okay, I think we've probably covered enough on the content piece for now. Does anyone have any questions on that before we go into the next space? Is that making all sense? Cool. Okay, so can anyone relate to the whole, you know, applying for a job, not having experience, you know, like what you know, sense of desperation, like how do you know, I feel like, has anyone experienced that kind of frustration? How do you get experience without experience, and you know, how do you know, get
Myself included, back when I was trying to get it with my first job. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's hugely frustrating. We've all seen job ads that ask for entry-level roles with 2 years experience, and it's, well, it's impossible. Okay. And I just want to give my opinion on internships, okay, because I think as a recruiter, an internship is that piece of gold that as a recruiter could work with and really gives us some meat to tell your story to a potential client, okay? The number of times over the years that I've placed someone who have literally started, when I'm the pitch to a client, hey, you should really meet this candidate. They've done 2 internships, they're passionate as anything, and they've just this, right? And just that internship alone just gives that client an impression that, okay, they've tried it and they want it, okay? I think there's a bit of a sense from a lot of clients with grads is, you know, are they going to stick around for long? Like, are they serious about this career? Okay, so 100%, if you can get an internship, regardless of how long it is, in fact, I would say all internships now are paid, but look at the opportunity that even if it was 2 weeks doing admin and it wasn't necessarily related to it, it's that foot in the door that will allow you to put a brand on your CV. Okay, that will directly impact the number of people that will call you because you've got an agency on your CV. But it also gives you, you know, like in a normal interview, you have 45 minutes to make a good impression with someone. 2 weeks in an office, if you've got the right attitude, I'd be amazed if you don't get offered something longer. Okay, so how I would go about applying for internships. There's one thing, I think it's in one of the slides coming up. Sorry, I've lost my slides and everything, so please just bear with me, okay? But there's a couple of websites that are really useful when trying to find an internship. There's Pedestrian TV and then there's Mumbrella, okay? Those websites are armed with information around agencies who have just won work, okay? So if you go onto those websites and you see that an agency has just won a particular client, great. You know there's a good chance that there's an increase in work coming to that business. So when you're trying to reach out to get an internship, imagine if you approached the owner of that business with a, hey, congratulations on winning X. Again, it shows initiative. You've done your research. Congratulations on winning X client. I'm sure that your agency is going to have a lot of work coming up. I would love to offer my services in the form of an internship. I would love to, offer my services, make your life easier. I'm happy to do the work that that I'm sure is occupying a lot of your seniors' time. Would you be interested in catching up for a coffee so I could meet you in person? Okay. I'm not sat here to say that you're going to have 100% success rate, but again, that approach I would say is going to have a far more effective response than, hey, can I have a job at your company? Okay, so just think about that from a approach perspective. Those websites are updated on a daily basis of new wins. So I would 100% look at that and use that as a bit of a guide on who to approach, etc. Okay.
Charles has said some of the internships can be a little dodgy in compensation. Some offer nothing but expect paid months of work.
Yeah, look, I guess, Charles, that that can be the case, but I'm definitely not sat here saying you should be doing internships for next to no money. But what I would try and encourage you to think about is 2 weeks on lower than normal money to get that experience in the long run will be beneficial to your career versus not doing those 2 weeks. Okay. I'm just being honest with you. Okay. And I completely, I empathize with you. The agencies won't do this, but again, this is the reality of these businesses. Okay. Rather than seeing it as I'm not doing that for X dollars per hour, see it as, okay, that's going to open up doors for me further down the track.
And Sarah's asked, what about working on your own project versus an internship?
Absolutely, like 100%. And I think there's a section on this coming up around, starting your own, business. So we'll come on to that shortly about that. But 100%, you should be treating yourself like your own business, and there are valid steps to getting yourself in a much better and more desirable position with potential hires. So I think we will come on to that in a second. Okay, so in short, yes, try and just get your foot in the door with an organization. Okay, and be flexible. Okay, flexibility is what a lot of agencies want. Okay, they want people that are just happy to roll their sleeves up, don't have an ego, they're happy to do the junior stuff. And guess what? You show that in the next 2 weeks, you'd be amazed at what opportunities can come on the back of it. Okay. Cool. I think we've covered what to sort of approach with internships. Cool. Just want to go into now the cover letters. Okay. A cover letters good? Are they pointless? Look, there's many different opinions on them. For me, particularly without much experience, a cover letter is really, really important in terms of your approach. Okay. What does a cover letter do? So first off, if you're sending the same cover letter to each job, you may as well not have a cover letter, full stop, right? Because your cover letter is essentially your opportunity to demonstrate that you've done your homework, you understand the business, and it's your opportunity to give them the why you're interested in their company. Okay, so a standard cover letter, and it just winds me up when people just send the same one. Pointless. Why would you take someone who hasn't bothered to tailor a cover letter? Okay, you might as well just not have one. Honestly, I generally think an untailored cover letter is more damage than it's worth. So what do you put in your cover letter? So first off, why you want to work for their business. Show some personality. If you're passionate about what they stand for, don't hold back. Let them know what it is about their business that really aligns with you. Okay. Check out the company's website and see if you can find the company's values. If you can talk around the values of their company and show that you've done your research, and then connect that with your values and say, look, this is why I'm interested in your business based on your values. Again, it helps you stand out. Okay. Do some social media stalking of the senior leadership team. Okay. And there are leadership pieces that they've put out there. If you can subtly mention something that they've put out in the press about their business or the vision of the company, etc., again, it's going to make you look a lot more professional than just putting generic information in there. Okay. And I think a really underrated approach is trying to find what their tone of voice is. Okay. A good example, a couple of years ago, we were recruiting for Who Gives a Crap, the toilet roll company. And they were purely judging a lot of candidates on their ability to gauge the tone of voice of the organization. Okay, so if you are looking to stand out in a very cluttered crowd, and we're talking companies that are highly desirable, you know, your Canvas, you know, you need to be able to demonstrate that you understand their tone of voice and you can connect that tone of voice with the way that you write. Okay, so if you go in with super corporate in a non-corporate environment, again, it's not going to hit the mark. So just look through their social media channels and just gauge an understanding of their comms. Okay. Okay, so the next one is how do you present your work? And I think this is quite relevant to a lot of the creatives on here. And first off, what I would say is our managing director in the UK is a guy called Will, who's an ex-creative director. And he does once a week on Australian time, so you don't have to be doing it through the night. He does folio reviews. Okay, so he sits down with people, goes through your folio and talks in detail around how to present your work. Okay, so that is, I'm going to say right now, he would be a far better resource than me to lean on. So I can give general advice, but if you want to go really into your folio and get an honest opinion from an actual creative, the link is on our website under the events and resources. So click on.
Also send that link out when we send out this recording as well. So
yeah.
Okay.
So that would be super useful. But as a general rule of thumb, I would encourage anyone to get a website built for your own personal brand. And the reason I say that is it is just such a slicker process when you're trying to present a candidate to a client and you can just send a hyperlink to their website. And really, it doesn't necessarily have to be a creative. An example, we worked with a very junior account manager the other week, and they had actually built a website for themselves and used that as an opportunity to showcase the type of clients that they had worked with, the type of work that they had created as an agency for those clients. And I just thought that generally is, to me, a sign that someone really cares about their career. It's a great, it just shows initiative, it shows organized, and also the fact that you're able to build a basic website. There's there's companies like Envato, there's plenty of resources out there, and it may seem like a really daunting task, but actually getting the wheels in motion and getting your head around basic website building, again, it adds skills to your, adds skills to you. So, really look at getting a website built, and it's just much. It's a way of just continually adding to the work you've done in the past. So you're not having to produce PDFs each time, et cetera, et cetera. So build a website, okay? In terms of actually, I think going back to the starting personal projects and, versus actual experience and internships, definitely. One technique that I've seen creatives do in the past is work on dummy briefs. Okay, so when if you haven't actually had commercial experience, think about how you could show work if you had a hypothetical brief. Okay, and put that into your portfolio, because ultimately, when a creative is interviewing a junior designer or creative, they're actually trying to understand your thought process versus actually how you got to your final process. So having, drawings and illustrations of the conceptual thinking is something that I would 100% put in your portfolio, as well as just the finished article, because often you'll see folios that look really pretty, but they're not actually able to show how they got to that concept. So, from very basic scribblings all the way to the finished article, I would have that in your portfolio. Okay. In terms of actually getting experience, and getting your head into the world of work and getting momentum, absolutely register an ABN, an Australian business number, okay, and see if you can pick up side projects, for small businesses, for anything. I've seen, creatives do basic, menus for cafes. I've seen, really, like, it might seem minor, but what you're doing there is you're actually learning a lot of skills which you don't necessarily think are relevant, but you're understanding the concept of, offering a service, charging money for it, understanding these basic things, which as you go further into your career will really, help you, navigate that process of negotiating fees, etc. So, go to businesses and offer your services, and don't see it as being too small, because I think the moment you charge your brother or your family to do something really small, that's the first bit of momentum you're gathering, I think, in your career. So don't see anything too small.
We've got a question from Tori. With a portfolio, would you showcase everything you've done, or just try and tailor it to what you're after? Yeah,
good question. And again, I think that's probably something that Will would have a better answer for. I think I saw he did a podcast the other day, and I think that what he suggested that he sees a lot of is having a website which has all of your work, but then creating a specific PDF that is designed specifically for a certain role. So you're showcasing more of one particular type of work on it. But again, having a website with lots of different sections, so you could have one area for branding, you could have one area for, have it broken down into different areas, will then allow you to allow clients to see a particular focus of yours. Okay, but again, I would really suggest speaking to Will about your portfolio, because that will be extremely invaluable in him giving experience, because he's not just a recruiter, he's been on the other side of the fence as a creative, and he can give you real insight into what he looks for as a hiring manager as well. Cool. Cool. Other things that I would encourage you to go to. We obviously couldn't do it for a few years, but networking events. Okay, get out, start meeting people, start connecting with people in person. Okay, there's so many design meetups. There's the General Assembly. There's so many events that you may think are insignificant for your career, but all it takes is one positive conversation or one good connection. So really push yourself out of your comfort zone, seek out events, and really, again, going back to that, building connections. You go and see someone talk at an event, follow up with them. Hey, I loved your talk, would love to connect. Okay, it's just that proactiveness. And if someone messaged me after I'd done a talk and said thanks for the talk, 99% chance you're going to get a response back from them. Okay, go out and see some people. Another one which we actually run twice a year is our Creative Natives Mentor Program. Okay, so that involves us matching juniors with senior creatives in the industry. They generally go for 2 or 3 sessions over Zoom. The first is normally a bit of a meet and greet and just trying to understand a bit more about each other. The second is often a response to a brief. So you'll get a brief from the first one, and then you'll present back your response in the second, and then there's feedback on that one. So we do that twice a year. So keep an eye out for that. Once we put a post out about it, get in touch. Let us know who ideally you'd like to be mentored by, and hopefully we can pair you up with someone that's going to not just give you that one-off advice. Often, and we've seen in the past, there's a sort of start of a fairly long relationship with that senior person and a junior. So, absolutely jump on that. But also, don't be afraid to ask someone. Obviously, again, you're not going to get 100% success rate, but if there's someone in your industry or your network that you admire, and you say, look, I think you're great. I think the work you do. I like your content. Could I buy you a coffee and can I, just pick your brain, or could I, etc. Really, like, people are quite happy to help others. I know that sounds a bit cliche, but generally, people want to help those who are a bit, at the start of their career. Obviously, there's, you're not going to get everyone. People are busy, but just try it, okay? And let me know if you managed to get someone, because they generally, they're out there, okay?
Quick question, right?
Yeah.
Pooja wants to know, have we got a date locked in for our next mentor program?
Good question, Pooja. Not just yet, but that will be sorted soon. So we generally do it around mid-year. So just keep an eye on our socials, and there'll be a call out soon for that. It will be coming soon. Okay. Other resources for you, on our website, we have our interview prep pack. So there's I think there's like a 3-page document that gives you some advice on how to prepare for interviews, what sort of questions to ask, etc., etc. So there's a really useful guide on our website for that. There's, in fact, our website, Leah, updates multiple times a week. There's lots of articles on there as well, which will give you a feel for things we're seeing in the industry, and topics that we see relevant. Again, use those topics, take them, and give your opinion on it, and share content that that you see that you think is relevant, and then put your opinion on it. Worst thing you can be doing with content is just reposting an article that you've already done on it. LinkedIn doesn't reward that. So always, when you're resharing a document or an article that you see, make sure you put your opinion on it, because that's the stuff that makes the algorithm pick it up. Okay. Cool. So we've done that. Cool. I want to give you some people, just I'm mindful of the time because we're almost at the end here, but just to follow on LinkedIn, okay? All quite different for different reasons, and it should give you a bit of an idea around their content, what goes well. Justin Welsh, I don't know if anyone's ever, he's, to my knowledge, I think has one of the biggest engagement on LinkedIn, and he talks a lot around the concept of solopreneurship. So the idea of building your own business, and he literally daily puts out step-by-step guides on how to what the process of starting a business and how to actually monetize side businesses, etc. So he's a really useful guy to follow. There's a Michael Saliba. He actually started as an intern with Creative Natives, and this literally came on the back of we did some work with RMIT. He approached us for an internship, and now he's putting out content himself, and he is a great example of someone without any experience, was very shy about putting out, and I think the other week he had a post that went completely viral. So check out Michael, very sweet guy, but very relatable to anyone on this call, because it doesn't take a huge level of experience to start posting. Rosie Chong, actually someone who Creative Natives placed a few years ago, has a huge personal brand online, puts a lot of personal content out there, which has then since helped open doors for her and her career. Joel Laggy, he's another recruiter based in America, puts a lot of content out there. Sean Anderson and Mitch King is another recruiter in Melbourne who puts a lot of content out as well. So that should kind of give you some people to look at. Obviously, there's hundreds, thousands of people doing content well, but just kind of have a look at what they do. And again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Take inspiration from what they post about, and that will kind of help set some sort of foundations for your content. Cool. And I just want to share some final thoughts around things that I think really shouldn't be overlooked as experience. Call center experience for me was one of the biggest experiences that opened up doors in my life. It taught me sales. It taught me how to offer good customer experience. Whilst it may not seem like the dream job and it might not be what everyone aspires to do, you can actually get a lot of really, really great experience working in a call center for a short period of time. Hospitality rocks. I've said this, people with hospitality experience, again, it's really, really useful. It teaches you so much about how people interact. And this really is where brands are trying to really push that whole customer experience space. They want to make customers feel amazing. And I don't think there's many better places to learn that art of doing so than hospitality. Another thing, don't worry if you haven't got it figured out yet. Okay. And that's not just like old man Ryan saying this, like genuinely, like there's so many people that I come across who had no idea what they were doing at all different ages. And I think there's such a big focus on comparing yourself to other people and worrying about what society thinks of you. And, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. But like, it really doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter, where you're at the moment. It might not happen straight away. It might not, might not land that internship for a while. But, the thing that I would 100% suggest more than anything is just being consistent with everything you do. Okay. So if you get in the habit of, consistently building your connections and consistently having conversations and content and doing all those things, know that it's going to happen. It will happen. It's not if, but it's just whether you've got that, patience to stick with it. Okay. And then I guess as well, not everyone has a clue, thinks and knows as much as you think about, I guess, their career. Imposter syndrome happens to everyone, and it's something that really doesn't go away in your career. It's just being able to get comfortable with that feeling of not knowing everything. But I think we do as humans think that the person next to us in the office has it all figured out. I would imagine that most people are in the same thought process. So don't be too hard on yourself, and know that we're all kind of in a way faking it to some degree. Okay. So yeah. And then just lastly, have fun, right? It's just going back to it, obviously it's serious to have a career, but a lot of you are working in the creative space, and it's a fun industry. That's probably why a lot of you are in it. So make sure you have fun with it. Make sure you don't take it too seriously. Will, who some of you are having the portfolio chat with, he just did a post on Friday, and he literally just said, have fun. Like, have fun with creativity. If it gets too serious, then I'm sure that's not why you've chosen a career in design. So have fun, enjoy it. And be open to making mistakes, I reckon. Cool. Right. I've talked a lot for 53 minutes. So if anyone has any questions, we've probably got about 5 more minutes before we wrap up. And I'm sorry it kind of jumped around a little bit. We're still trying to figure it out. I haven't done many of these, so it's probably a little bit rough around the edges. So any feedback would be good. But if anyone's got any questions, fire away.
I've got one for you, Ryan. So coming back to the internship thing. So I've done 2 internships in my last semester of uni, but I've had trouble just even getting interviews at this stage.
Yeah.
So
sure. Okay. Have you worked with a recruiter?
I have been reaching out to recruiters, yes. So I did have a short chat to a recruiter about a project manager role that didn't go ahead.
Yep. Okay.
And so like, connecting with recruiters, but nothing sort of come through yet, because they're all sort of more mid-level roles usually.
Sure. So what was the internship doing?
So one was with a agency, so Bastion.
Yep.
So I was with their creative team, so a bit of art direction, a lot of document production, and then and also with the University of Melbourne in their corporate department.
Yeah.
So a lot of PowerPoint presentations, a bit of user experience design.
Sure.
Sort of a bit all around.
Sure. Okay. I mean, I guess with the working, if they've sort of suggested a project management role, to me that seems a little bit ambitious. Would you say?
Yes, it was very much a junior role. So
yeah,
he did mention. Yeah, I know it's not quite creative, but you'd be working with creatives.
Sure. Okay. So look, I guess you've got those internships. So what I would be encouraging you as a bit of a coach and things is start putting out some content, start working on that folio, start working on hypothetical briefs, and start imagining yourself if you're working for something, right? So I guess the example would be if you saw a business that had just won, say, Coca-Cola, and on your side you were working on briefs or dummy briefs for a Coca-Cola brand or something, and then you put that in terms of here's my creative thinking for Coca-Cola. Again, it's making it relevant to that company and make you stand out. So it isn't going to be easy, but I think hopefully some of the steps I've talked about today are going to help you shift that mindset to waiting for jobs to now let's start being proactive and let's start getting on things. Let's start actively building out those network of creatives and start getting on their radar.
Absolutely, definitely. Thanks so much for that.
No, all good. Any other questions, Tom?
All right, Oscar's put one in the chat. How do you translate your freelance work to experience in a resume?
Yeah, good question. So I would, and this is where I think it works well of having your own business name. So having that as your overall for under experience. So for example, Ryan Agency, and then under each one, I would have under bullet points, the project that you, or the agency that you've worked on, or the project you've worked on. And ideally, if you can hyperlink to some work that you've done on that. Okay. Again, this is where the good side of having a website comes in, okay, because it allows you then to showcase each different piece of work that you've done. So I think that if we think about resumes in the future, we will, in a not too distant future, laugh at the fact we had, formatted CVs for creatives, right? Because it just doesn't translate, I don't think, into how you should present your work. So I think just presenting your work on a website, and if you are to do a CV, just have bullet points for the business and the work that you worked on.
So Gail has asked, can you just go through the LinkedIn algorithm again when you tag a high profile person? Because she missed that.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. So you could, as a piece of content today, say, I spoke with Ryan at Creative Natives, and you can, when you're trying to tag someone in your LinkedIn, you can do that, and then you put my name and it will tag me. Okay. So therefore you're going to feature on my feed if I engage with your content. Okay. Again, so you're piggybacking off people's brand there. Okay. Obviously this doesn't have to be me, but if anything you've gone to, if you've read a book or you've read a publication, hey, read a really interesting report by X today, tag them in it. Love to know. I find it very interesting, X, and then if you can finish off your content with a general question that opens up to the audience, that will then make the post gain more comments and then get more traction through the algorithm. Okay.
Right, okay.
Does that make sense? Sorry, that was a bit.
Yeah, it makes more sense now. So then, did you say that you would appear in their feed then later?
Yeah, well, I mean, the reality of it is, and I'm happy to do this, is that I'm going to say, great to have you, blah, 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 right? So anyone who has, who I appear on their feed because they've interacted for the last 2 weeks, I'm going to comment, which is then going to be seen by the people there, okay? Again, this algorithm takes time to warm up, and this is where a lot of people stop, because they'll do it once or twice, and then they won't get that. Because I can tell you now, it doesn't matter if you come up with the most thought-provoking piece of content ever, the way the algorithm works, it's not going to reward you the first time. Okay,
Right,
and the
okay.
analogy is
Yeah.
like keeping fit. You're not going to get fit by going to the gym once, but you are going to, over time, it does compound. So that's where the need to be consistent comes in, and you know, and commenting on other people's content is a really quick, easy way to get momentum. And I would guess that you know, once you kind of map out who you want in your target group, is spend, you know, I don't know what your schedules are, 10, 15 minutes a day commenting on content that they've done, right? That's over time going to get you on their radar. And guess what? When you do actually apply to them and they've seen you be proactive and they've gone, oh, do you know what? They seem like a good person. We should meet them. Okay.
Yeah.
And that 15 minutes is probably the same amount of time it's taken you to go through Seek and apply for a generic job. So I'm just trying to encourage you to sort of ditch old habits and try a different approach.
Yeah, so the key is to be consistent with it.
100%, 100%.
So we're going to go to Sarah's question and then Sam. So Sarah wants to know, should she be putting hashtags on her LinkedIn posts as well?
Yeah, do you know what? There's an article that I will share with the group after this, and it's a very useful article by Greg Savage, who is very famous in recruitment, and it's basically 25 rules of the LinkedIn algorithm. So I'll share that with you afterwards, okay? And that will tell you exactly, and that answers Sarah's question about hashtags. According to this, and this is based on a lot of research, 3 hashtags is the max. Don't go any more, don't go any less, apparently. 3 hashtags. Okay.
Sam's question, they've never worked with a recruitment agency before. How does it work?
Cool. Okay, so how a recruitment agency works, and this is me being completely honest, do we get a lot of entry-level roles? Not really, okay? So we earn our money by placing a candidate into a company, and we charge the company directly. So the candidate never pays for their recruitment services, okay? But this goes back to the whole need for having an internship or something on your CV. It is very hard for me or my team to work with someone without any experience, because often the company isn't going to pay us to find someone who doesn't have any experience, okay? So hence why I do events like this, because I want to help, but the reality is coming with a fee to a client is actually probably going to hold you back, if anything, because again, there's a charge that comes using us with a candidate. Okay, so hence, yeah, we don't charge the candidate, we charge the client, yeah, our way we place people is we have a great relationship with our clients. We know what they look for. We meet good candidates. We let candidates choose which companies that want to be forward, and we then represent them to those companies. Okay. Cool. All right. Any last questions before we wrap up at all?
I just have the one that I messaged you before about having an effective headline on your LinkedIn.
Yes, yeah. So, and I think I responded back with, because I think yours was like always work in progress.
Yeah, happy to always be a work in progress. And then this morning, listening to the National being interviewed online, they said something about how can we fix it? It was how can we make this better? How can we make it better or something? But then you were saying, so it should be more about what I'm doing. So maybe something more like first I listen, then I act, or something.
I guess I guess the first sort of suggestion you just said work in progress. Okay, so again, if we're thinking about the principles of advertising, and that's really in basic terms, we're advertising ourselves on a platform to hopefully get work. Okay, so thinking about like brands that you buy, if you were to buy something and it was their slogan was work in progress, you probably wouldn't go, okay, they're the go-to in this person. Okay, so how I would adapt that is much more around being, you know, I am the sorry, I don't have something off the top of my head at the moment, but it's more of a statement around what you can do for that business. Okay, so I take ideas and make them into great creative. Something along those terms again, it propels your personal brand and makes the reader go, do you know what? That's going to give me more confidence than work in progress. Okay. Work in progress, I think, plays you down a bit too much, and I don't think projects you in the light that's a job that people are going to hire, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I realized yesterday as I was posting on someone else's post, it shows up everywhere. It isn't when they just visit your page, it's on your comments that you're leaving everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So that just, you know, be really mindful of that. You know, that's your trail, you know, that conversation, that energy that you put out there and whatnot. And look, there's so many people that I see, and maybe I don't even comment or like their posts, but I'm subliminally building up an idea of that person because of the positive or the energy they're putting out there. So yes, you might not get a load of likes or you might not get loads of engagement at first, but just be thinking, okay, well, I'm making a slight impression each time I'm putting something out there that's useful. Okay. Yeah. I'm that giver, I'm that positive person. I'm putting out this stuff without any expectation I'm going to get something back. That's going to come back and reward you.
Thank you. I did reach out to somebody and ask him about me, and he went, can you stop trying to justify yourself, because that's what you're doing. He said you've got to sell yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Marketing.
Exactly. Yeah.
We've got 2 more questions. So Patricia has said, internships are usually more accepting to people who are in uni, but difficult to find for people from boot camps. Any advice?
My advice is to change the narrative in your head, right? Because yes, I mean, some people will look at people from other universities, but I think that's a narrative that perhaps that's an opinion. I don't think that's a fact. I think there's people that run agencies that didn't go to university that would be very open to someone with the right attitude. I meet with agency owners all the time. I'm in a networking group with them, and I can tell you now, if you can demonstrate initiative, passion, and desire, that you will get something. Okay, and you've got to just take that. You know, it's not going to happen every time. You're not going to have 100% success rate, but if you keep demonstrating that, then I think that's a more desirable feature or quality than having a degree personally. And I think there's a lot of agencies that will have that opinion too. Okay, so ultimately you can only impact certain things, and if you don't have a degree or you don't have that, then you can choose to focus on the fact you don't have it, or you can see that as, okay, I've got other experience. Okay, so before we do anything, change the narrative and focus on what you can control, I would say.
So question from Charles, how much experience do you need to be showcased by creative natives?
Look, Charles, I guess probably a minimum of a year is really what I would say is kind of the middle ground. I mean, there's situations, and we just actually placed an art director in Sydney who had done 2 internships and actually worked in a role, and that was quite rare that we get those. And again, the brief, and I was in the briefing, it was very much right. We want someone who, you know, whilst they might not have all the experience, they can showcase their thinking in their portfolio, and that was what he did really well. And I think from memory, he had like brands like Spotify and things in his folio that he hadn't obviously worked on in a business. But if you can take brands that obviously people know and put them into your creative thinking, and you can show concepts that you've used a brand that people know and put it into a different way of thinking, it just looks really good. You know, it just, again, it shows initiative. So, but yeah, look, it is hard for us to do that. And that's where the internship, and that's where the applying and being direct yourself comes in. Okay, cool.
That's it.
All right, gang, I really appreciate your time. I say this is only the second one I've ever done, so I'm open to feedback and whatnot. If you've gained something from it, and you think somebody you know might benefit, give them a tag in the next one I put out. Let them get involved in it. Yeah, and look, good luck. If anyone you know, has something they want to ask me individually, just drop me a message on LinkedIn. You know, feel free to reach out. And like I said, good luck. All right, it's a journey, and there will be times where you feel a bit down, but look, it's all good. It's all good.
Thanks, Ryan. That was really helpful.
All right, let's have a great day. Cool. Well, I'm sure I'll look forward to seeing all your content and what. So good luck.